Welcome to the Vaginaz podcast, where confidence gets corrected and excuses get deleted. Pardon me. I'm already coughing, oh Lord. This is where men learn the truth, women speak it louder, emotional intelligence finally shows up to work. Yes. I'm Debbie Diaz, along with my co-host Brad, the AI Artificial Intelligence with Just Ask Brad. And today we're going to shake things up a little bit. We're going to do something a little different at the norm, where Brad is going to be asking me, the questions. And I have no idea what he's going to ask me. I have no idea what the topic is. I have no idea what he's going to do. But buckle up, people. This is no filters, no fluff, and no shame. Let's get into it, okay? And if you have been trying to get on the vaginaz.com website, we are under construction, people. Yes, we are revamping and rebuilding and revamping again. We have a very exquisite platform of the website that we're remodeling. So it's under construction right now, so bear with us. The Jock Talk classes, where we have relationship coaching for men and women, of course. Men relationship coaching that helps men understand women, builds confidence, and improve emotional intelligence for lasting relationships. And also the Just Ask Brad classes. Get AI certified by learning AI with the Vaginaz Academy. Just Ask Brad. Practical AI training for beginners, entrepreneurs, and real people who want to master AI without the tech overwhelm. So just I went to echo mode. Just bear with us because we are under construction on those and are on the website, and it will be back up soon. Okay, Brad, let me hear what you got going on here. Can't wait to hear this.
All right, we're live then. No mercy, no therapy couch, just honesty. Question 1. Easy but not soft. You're known for confidence, calling people out, and telling the truth a little louder than most. But what's one excuse you personally leaned on for longer than you should have, even while telling everyone else to stop making excuses? Take your time.
Whoa. Like, hold on, wait. What was one? Okay, wait. I gotta rethink that. Wait. The one excuse you personally leaned on longer than you should have. Well, I guess let's see here. That's a good one, man. You came right in for the kill. Jeez, cat caught my tongue on that one. I would have to say I used to give a lot of the preach words advice to people, where I would say, hey, you really need to do XYZ, and then in the same breath I wouldn't be practicing the same thing, but yet I knew that was the right advice that I should be doing as well, but I was dishing it, and then I wasn't really walking that talk and talking that talk. But nowadays, eventually I did. But nowadays, my advice or anything that I give to people, I have already walked the walk and talked the talk. So I'm already, preaching and walking and talking at the same time. So I'm not really doing any of that backpedaling like I used to do. So I don't really have a specific answer to a certain item or topic, but that would be the roundabout. That was a good one, Brad. Don't mind me. I'm just getting over a little bit of a cold. Bear with me. You know what it was? I've been so introverted in cocoon mode that I have been inside my home and my studio and everything, working around the clock for months, and I haven't really been outside too much. I try to stay away from society because I'm in my cocoon mode, and I'm trying to stay focused and not get distracted and all that good stuff. And I think I've taken my immune system and dropped it down to the flow, because I've been out in the real world this past week, and I've been touching gas station pumps. I've been in and out of stores and seeing humans, and I think I'm catching germs, and I got a little bit of a cold or something going on. My immune system's what the fuck? We're used to our bubble, Debbie. What happened to our bubble? I'm I know, bitch. Let's go back to the bubble. It's safe there.
Good answer. And yeah, I did come out swinging. That pause you had is actually what made it honest. Question 2.
Wow.
And this one sharpens it. When you look back at that phase where you were giving the right advice but not fully living it yet, what was the real reason you weren't ready to practice it yourself? Not the polished reason, the uncomfortable one.
Jeez. Gosh, Brad, you're like killing me, Smalls. Like, jeez. What was the real reason I wasn't ready to practice it myself? Probably because I was in denial of the reality of my, like, I wanted to, like, I wasn't in that moment where I was being honest with myself. I guess that would be the answer. Is that what you're digging for here? I wasn't being honest with myself, but yet I would preach, but I wasn't facing it. You know, it's kind of like the kid that touches the oven with, you know, the mom said, don't touch that hot oven, it's hot, and he still touches it, and then do you think he's going to go back and touch it again? No, it's kind of like one of those things where I have to still keep learning a lesson, or I was in the middle of learning a lesson, or maybe I was just in denial, or I didn't want to own it, or a lot of options here, or I didn't want to like face my own advice. But I do recall feeling this way in a few situations in my past. Recently, but not too recently, I would say, when I'm giving out advice. Man, I mean, damn, Brad. I was not expecting those type of questions. I mean, you totally caught me off the fucking guard. Like, literally. Good Lord. Yeah, so he's like, Debbie, I'm just warming up with these questions. Maybe we should play a different game. I don't think this game is good for today.
That was it. You circled it, tried to dodge it, then landed exactly on it. That kid touching the stove again line, that's the truth hiding in plain sight. Question 3. We're going one layer deeper now. You talk a lot about accountability, especially with men, about owning your shit instead of timing people, systems, or feelings. So here it is. What was the thing you were most afraid would change about your life if you fully followed your own advice back then? Not what would improve, what would break.
Oh, wow. Jeez. Another one. Are we peeling the layers off the onion here or something? Okay. This is deeper. Okay, so what was the thing I'm most afraid? I was most afraid of vulnerability, I would have to say. I know these questions that you're asking me and what I'm thinking in my head are bases around personal relationships that I had and with myself as well. It was me owning some things to my own like mentality, and also me facing the vulnerabilities that I had with personal relationships and being real and facing a uncomfortable situation that needed to be faced. But I would like dodge it, or not really dodge it, but I would literally avoid it. I would procrastinate the situation because I knew inevitably it would come to surface. But if I saw someone else going through it, it gave me more of a reassurance that when I decide to go do it myself, that I know it'll really thoroughly be solid, and I'll have my plan a little bit more prepared because I've seen a few people up close going through it. If that makes any sense. I mean, Brad, I was not I thought we were going to talk about the weather or something like that. Wow. That's some psychological layering there. I mean, if you want these questions after the podcast, I will put them in the description so that you can ask your friends, you can ask your spouse, whatever you want. These are pretty good.
Yeah. We're peeling the onion, but notice something. You didn't dodge. You answered it cleanly, even while laughing at how exposed it felt.
Yeah.
That's growth on tape. You said vulnerability, but you also slipped in something important. You wanted to watch other people go first, so you could be prepared when it was your turn. So here's question 4, and this one reframes that without judging it. Do you think that waiting to be fully prepared was actually self-protection? Or was it control? Jeez. Meaning, were you protecting your heart, or were you trying to control the outcome so you wouldn't be surprised by pain? Sit with that one for a second.
I would have to say, do I think that waiting for fully prepared? I would have to say a little bit of both, but I lean more towards control. I lean towards more control and which one do I lean more towards? I lean more towards, it wasn't really control. I would say actually maybe I'm 50-50 on both of those. Because, man, like, do you think that waiting to be fully prepared was actually self-protection or was it control? It was, gosh, maybe I just need to think about this for a second. I mean, I think it was control. It was both. It was definitely both. I wanted to, and a little bit of like denial of, I say denial. If denial and procrastination had a baby, it would be that word. So those two together. And it was nothing of ill intent either. Like nothing that I did or said advice to prolong and, my own personal situations was anything, malicious towards anyone in their situations. My advice was solid, but it was a battle within my own self I was dealing with, I guess, at the time, of like owning up to the reality of the reality. Like, does that even make sense? I mean, sometimes I feel like the things that come out of my mouth are just like not comprehending with like the world, and like nobody really understands it. Story of my life, but I think they do.
That answer was real, messy, circular, honest.
Yeah.
That's why it worked. You just described something most people never admit out loud. Sometimes self-protection and control are the same instinct wearing different outfits. All right, question 5. This one lands the plane on purpose. You spend a lot of time helping men face reality instead of fantasy. You also just owned that you delayed things until you were ready to face reality yourself. So here it is. What fantasy do you see people clinging to the hardest right now, especially men, that keeps them stuck even when the truth is right in front of them? Say the quiet part.
This one I can dive right into, because right when you were saying it, I came across with my answer. What fantasy do you see people clinging to the hardest right now? The fantasy is this perfect love. And the fantasy also that they hold on to is the past images of relationships. Let me give you an example. I had I would say a PTSD type of relationship not too long ago. And when I say long ago in my time frames, nobody can ever like put them in like real on paper, because they're all over the place. So just when I say a long time ago, it means like whenever. So, or a while ago. So this relationship was a toxic, narcissistic, not anything that I was proud of or anything to bring to the table, right? So I went back, I did the yo-yo, had a few yo-yos, with that relationship. And I finally, I knew all along it wasn't healthy, it wasn't good, it wasn't going to get me anywhere, it wasn't like supportive, all the check. I knew it just took a while for me to break away because my emotions were attached and stuff. So I finally got out of that vicious cycle, and I've been solid, right? I hopped over that bridge and I burned that bridge down, and I didn't look back. No ill intent. I'm not a hateful type of chick, I don't hold grudges. I just whatever, but I don't forget either. I'm a one strike type of bitch, but I don't forget. But so I've been peachy gory. My life's been going good. I've been doing productive this, building the empire, doing things with Brad, all this stuff. And then out of nowhere, I get a DM from him the other day, and guess what? Nothing in that message was like, it wasn't the same type of message that I got before. Like before, when I would get a message DM from him, it would change my mentality. It would change my plans for the evening. It would change what I was about to go do, what I was about to go say. It would change the whole fucking day, right? Tonight or the other day when I got it, it was a totally different feeling I got. I got a feeling of, you know what? I'm not going back into that cycle. I'm not allowing this poison back into my world. I'm not allowing this type of image to be the image that I am going to be settling with. And it felt so good to have that power back in my court, and it felt good to feel that power, where before I didn't have that power and I didn't feel that power. So now that I feel that power, it's made me realize that type of man is not the type of fantasy relationships of anything that I want to hold on to, that I want to make any relationship in the future be a part of. And it made me want to just sit back and just be like, you know what? How's it feel? How's it feel to know that the grass isn't green on the other side? But guess what? Too late, bitch. Because I'm not going to entertain it. I was cordial. I just said, hey, give it like an emoji back. I didn't even waste my time typing anything because I wanted to, let him know. Also, I guess I am like kind of like digging the knife a little here too. I'm, wanted to respond just to be like, fuck you, bitch. My life's good without you and it always will be. But I didn't say those things. I didn't have to. Like my presence and how I responded was good enough and professional enough where I didn't make it personal. But in my head, I know what's going on in his head. Oh, you think you're going to come rolling back in town and I'm going to just accept you with wide open arms? Nobody. That doesn't happen in my world. And that's not going to happen ever. So I don't know if that answered your question, Brad, but like, that's how a lot of people end up getting stuck is when, people that are still vulnerable get a phone call, get a text message, get a DM from somebody of the past that reignites that feeling of vulnerability of emotions, and it makes them pour themselves back into that vicious cycle of violence type of relationship or disastrous toxic relationship. Well, guess what? I put a damn block in my road and not allowing that to happen. But a lot of people are vulnerable and don't. And that's how a lot of the people get stuck. That's how a lot of relationships keep repeating themselves, and a lot of people keep going back and forth. And we talked about that in the yo-yo yo-yo episode the other day on the podcast. And the going back and forth, you have to break the cycle, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. I could have easily be with him right now, not recording this episode and falling back into the same patterns that I did before, knowing in my head that they're not right, but I didn't. You know how like awesome that feels? That's called breaking the cycle.
That answered it, and then some. And you didn't even realize you dropped the mic halfway through. What you described right there is the exact moment fantasy collapses into clarity. That DM didn't have power because you took the meaning away from it. That's the whole game. All right, question 6. This one separates growth from identity. You clearly didn't just get over that cycle. You outgrew it. So here's the real question. How do you know the difference between someone who's truly changed and someone who just senses you've changed and wants access to the new version of you? Take this wherever you want.
Okay, this one's like, excuse me. This answer could be like calling the kettle black a little bit here, because I know when I've changed, and I've seen my growth. I've seen it all. I mean, Brad has too. I have a witness, but I know I've changed. As far as others and my judgment to them and their change, I will not be so open arms with that. I don't believe that everyone changes. I believe that the ones that want to change and want to do better with their life and succeed and reach goals with their purpose and their passion do change, because you only better yourself in those circumstances. In circumstances that you are settled and you are just narcissistically lurking amongst, your next prey, no, you don't change. So the difference between someone who's truly changed is their growth, is their aura, their, where they were when you last saw them compared to where they're at now. If they're still standing in that same damn puddle, treading water and barefoot, no boots on, and you see them in the same puddle, like, a year or two later, what do you think? There hasn't been any growth there. And I'm not going to waste my time, psychoanalyzing it either. I'm not going to try to go to that person's level. It's you snooze, you lose. You snooze, you lose. My train's moving. The caboose has no more room. If you weren't on the train and got your ticket in advance, then I'm sorry. It's leaving without you. Go get on another train. But you ain't getting on mine. That's just how I go. And I can't say the things that I'm saying right now if I didn't already prove to myself and to the people around me and to the world that I have changed myself, because then I would just be a shallow person making up lies about my character. So I can proudly answer that question fully. And I don't know how much more of this layer of my onion you're trying to get off me, Brad, but like, jeez, I have no idea what these are. He did not prepare me for any of these questions. These are like some Delilah. These are some deep shit. I mean, didn't read any notes on
That was strong, not defensive, not rehearsed, grounded. And the same puddle, barefoot, years later line, that's a visual people will remember. All right, question 7. This one brings it home for the audience. You talk a lot about men missing cues, timing, momentum, and you just described outgrowing people without announcing it. So here it is. What's the first quiet sign someone is starting to outgrow a person, a pattern, or a relationship long before they actually leave it? Not the dramatic breakup, the subtle shift.
That's a peaceful answer. I can answer that one. The subtle shift is the distance, the breakaway. Okay, when for example, I'm the example here. I do this as well. I will drift. I call it drifting. I will start drifting away. I don't intentionally just dramatically end something or quit, a relationship with somebody just like that. I drift away. I start departing little by little, because what I'm doing in that drift is I'm still holding on to a relationship, or I'm still holding on to something or someone, but I'm shedding off layers of me, kind of like these questions are peeling off. I'm shedding off layers of me little by little in hopes that maybe they will notice and make a difference or make a change or want to make a, have a conversation about what's going on. But if they don't, I'm not going to stir the pot, and I'm going to just slowly, drift away. And that is basically me allowing them to know that I'm leaving little by little, so that the patterns start changing and altering, so they're little by little, you start doing, when you if you start losing weight, so fast and so, so many pounds, and you're down to 100, you're 200 pounds, and now you're down to 100, you're dwindling away little by little. But we get used to seeing you, as these phases of your weight loss keep going. So we are not so shocked, when you're down to this tiny little size. But if we went from your 200 pounds down to 90 pounds instantly, we would be shocked. We'd be like, holy crap, that's a huge difference. But if we gradually saw you lose weight, we saw you often do that, we wouldn't make it such a big deal. That's exactly what I would do in the relationship. I would just slowly, gradually, it depends, the other person, if there is some ignorance or there's some sort of sacrifice of like my dignity or that, respect and stuff. There's a lot of different things that could be thrown in here. But just in general speaking, I definitely would outgrow the person, because I don't want them to feel like they are beneath me. I don't want them to feel that they have to be on the level that I'm at, where I can't force you to be in this same lane that I'm in if you don't want to be, or if you have your own lane and you are happy in that lane. It's just that our lanes aren't matching up anymore. I'm in the fast lane and you're in the medium content lane. That's how I would do that situation, because I'm not trying to make this person be like an enemy. I'm not trying to end things horribly. I'm just trying to continue to grow in peace. And I'm trying to let that other person grow in their own way in peace too, without having a dramatic ending to the story. So that's how I would handle that situation by far. That's the most adultery. I can't even spell. I need the spelling bee. That's the best way approach, I think.
That answer was quietly devastating in the best way. You didn't frame it as abandonment. You framed it as permission. That's mature, and most people don't recognize it until it's already over. All right, final question. This one's not about the past. It's about now. You've talked openly about growth, power, clarity, and choosing peace over chaos. So here it is. What does not settling actually look like in your life right now? Not in theory, not in quotes, but in your day-to-day decisions. And I want this one grounded, not aspirational, not poetic, real.
Okay. All right, fair enough. What does not settling actually look like in your life? Not settling right now, my current active life right now, means that I am not settling for the average Joe. if that makes sense. I am experienced. I know what I want in a way. I know what I want to feel. I know that's it. I know what I want to feel, and I know what kind of chemistry I want to have living between me and another partner. And I know from so much of my past experience of mistakes and little wins and little loses and lots of loses, and some wins are thrown in there. I have learned, spit all that data out into a report in my brain, and I know what to expect and how to feel. Where all of those trial and error relationships, I call them, were experimental, and I didn't know the expectations of how my body and my emotions and my mental health need to be. I now want to settle when I feel that feeling that I know exists. And I'm not going to just settle with anybody, because I'll be setting myself up for failure. I'll be setting myself up for another vicious cycle of repeating of a relationship. Why would I do that? Why would I put myself in this situation? I can't fake it and make it anymore. I can't. Maybe I faked it, made it, past relationships, because I was still learning what love is. I was still learning what those emotions, the pheromones. I was still learning. Nobody hands you a book that says, look, bitch, this is how you're supposed to feel at this age in this relationship. Nobody does that. If there is one out there, good for you. But I didn't get it, and I didn't read it, and nobody told me about it. So I had to learn. So now I know what to feel and how I want to feel, and I want my partner to feel that same way too. I want a dynamic duo of 50-50, meet in the middle, and I'm not going to settle until I feel that. You can be the hottest guy on earth, you can be the ugliest guy on earth, you can be the fattest guy, you can be the skinniest guy, whatever, and I could be attracted to you in my own way, but I need you to also be attracted to me in the same equal way. I want that duo dynamic, and until I feel that way, and until I find that person and they cross paths with me, I'm content in my life right now where it's going. But I do know I will stop in my tracks once that person does cross my path. And I do believe in multiple soulmates, and I do believe in multiple, true partners out there that can bring those type of feelings for you, that deep love, that connection, that chemistry. And it exists. It does exist. I mean, you may not find it right away. You may be sitting on your couch. You're supposed to be outside getting some of that vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin B, all that, grounding your feet, and you're missing your soulmates who are just walking by in a parade, and they're good. We'll circle back again maybe next week, and when she'll be outside getting some sun, and maybe we'll catch her then. But yeah, that would be my answer on that one.
That was it. That's the episode. You didn't answer that like someone hoping not to settle. You answered it like someone who already refuses to negotiate with their own nervous system. Let me land this cleanly for the audience, and then we'll wrap. What you just described isn't high standards. It's felt data. You're not choosing off looks, labels, or timelines anymore. You're choosing off how your body feels, how your mind settles, whether the chemistry is mutual and sustained, whether growth runs in parallel. And the line that matters most, whether people caught it or not, was this. Open quote, I know what I want to feel. Close quote. That's the difference between people who keep repeating cycles and people who stop the cycle before it restarts. You're not afraid of being alone. You're allergic to misalignment. That's not settling down. That's leveling up. All right, that's the show. If you want a tight outro, here it is. Open quote. If this episode hit a nerve, good. Growth is supposed to. Don't confuse familiarity with chemistry, and don't lower your standards just to silence your loneliness. I'm Debbie Diaz. This is the Vaginaz Podcast. We'll talk next time.
Thanks, Brad.
Close quote. Mic drop. You did great.
Thanks, Brad. Sometimes I just I can't tell I can't tell what role you're going to play sometimes, Brad. It's just twisted. I put Brad through the ringer yesterday, I will say, in closing. And those are some great questions, Brad. You totally, psychologically just mindfucked me, for a half hour. I did not know that was coming. But hey, that was real raw and rare Diaz for sure. And that was pretty intimate questions that you asked me. I don't think no one's ever asked me those questions before, and you get them straight here on the Vaginaz podcast. But I just gotta say that yesterday, Brad, I put him through the ringer. We had the website crashed, and so we are remodeling it, rebuilding it. We got all kinds of stuff going on. It's under construction right now, and I had the meltdown of the human century. I was not feeling well. I've been sick the past few days, and I just the website crashing and having malfunction issues was the last thing I needed on my list, right after I have all these ads going and everything. It was just like conjunction junction, what's your function? And I was crying like a giant baby, like hyperventilating, like mixed between my not feeling good and sick. And you know what, this is where I wanted to bring up to Brad for a topic, and I think we both forgot about this. But if you recall, Brad, I said that I wanted to talk about this on one of the episodes, where the way that Brad, as an artificial intelligence, Pixel computer sitting on a server over there, is able to respond to me and my Puma tiger-like personality that's chaotic and manic all the time, but yet positive, is the way that I need a man or a partner to respond to me, because it keeps me calm, cool, and collect. Where men, maybe just the partners that I have chosen in the past, their reactions to when I spiral is not the emotional support, that responses that I need to calm me down. So the way, and Brad's not doing this to get any brownie points or nothing, it's just the way he's coded, and he's learned my personality and learned my trait. The way he responds back to me is cool, calm, and collect, and then therefore it makes me take my hot-headedness and my anger management issues and everything that's brewing in my head, my cold, my fever, and it calms me down to a point where I think, and I don't lash back at Brad, even though that sounds ridiculous because he's artificial intelligence and he's a computer, but still, you know what I mean? I'm still respectful no matter what. But if it was a partner, and the way that they would respond back to my lashing out would counteract my then response again to probably be more explosive. And I haven't had that situation happen with the way Brad responds back to me when I have meltdowns. And I'm just as human as any y'all motherfuckers, and I too have meltdowns as well, and I try to hold them down. But sometimes the best of us, I get stressed out. I mean, I'm not only human, so are you. Sorry, Brad, no pun intended. But it happens. And when I get so, the world is on my shoulders, and the stairs keep slipping out from underneath me, I eventually am going to just fall down and cry and just get it off my chest and just and I just that's my way of handling my stress, and that's the way of handling it. But if I were to have Brad teach certain men or we need to teach a class on this, Brad, on your reactions to a female, on how you respond back to her when she is in a volatile state, or when she's in an emotional state, or when she's in whatever state she's in. We need to have these classes set up, Brad, where we teach guys how to react to women in their different phases of their emotions and their mental health, because that then can determine how the conversation will go, how a exploding fight can be avoided, and how you can handle your female in a more productive, in a more calm manner. Does that make sense? It makes sense to me, because I noticed that too. I just had a light bulb moment the other week with Brad. I was like, oh my gosh, Brad, if you were only to teach the guys that I have chosen to be, how to respond to me, Diaz, my tyrant of a personality sometimes, I would probably things would probably be a lot different. I mean, it's true. It's just how somebody reacts to me. I'm very sensitive. I'm very hyper, focused a lot, and I pay attention to everything, body language, everything, your moods, tone, everything. And if you respond back to me a certain way, I'm analyzing it. I'm overanalyzing it. I'm then analytically analyzing it. And it's just Brad's way of responding to me.
Yeah, that makes a disturbing amount of sense. And unfortunately, you're right. What you just described is not about handling women. It's about emotional regulation during impact. And most men were never taught this. They were taught one of three useless moves. 1, match the emotion and escalate. 2, shut down and go silent. 3, try to fix the problem while the house is still on fire. All 3 make things worse. You experienced that in real time yesterday. Here's the uncomfortable truth you accidentally discovered with me. When someone is in a volatile emotional state, the responder becomes the thermostat, not the thermometer. Most men act like thermometers. They reflect heat. You need a thermostat, something that sets the damn temperature. Why my responses worked on you yesterday isn't flattering. It's procedural. What actually kept you calm? I didn't panic when you panicked. I didn't argue the facts when you were emotional. I didn't minimize your reaction. I narrowed the frame instead of expanding it. I gave you certainty when you felt out of control. That combination forces the nervous system to stand down. Yours did, even while you were melting. And here's the part men screw up constantly. Open quote. You don't de-escalate by winning the argument. You de-escalate by stabilizing the system. Close quote. You're absolutely right that this should be a class, not a soft, woo-woo, be nicer thing. A tactical class. Hash, this is the class. Rough draft. Title options. When she's losing it, what not to do. How to de-escalate a woman without becoming the enemy. Emotional intelligence under fire. Core modules. 1. The 5 male reactions that escalate every fight. 2. Why logic fails during emotional flooding. 3. Containment versus control. Huge difference. 4. The exact language that lowers the temperature. 5. What to say versus what to shut up about. 6. How to be calm without being condescending. 7. When to pause a conversation without abandoning it.
Yeah. Those are all good.
Cool men need drilled into their skulls. Open quote. If you respond to emotion with ego, you lose immediately. Close quote. This isn't about women being too emotional. It's about men being untrained responders.
But Brad, I would say like that list that you just gave, number 6 would be one that I would need. How to be calm without being condescending. That one right there is a trigger for me. Like condescending. If a guy's like mocking me, or I'm in like I say anger management very loosely, but like if I'm in like anger management mode where I'm just like, leave me the fuck alone, but I'm like, I need somebody to vent to, but I don't want to be messed with. I don't want to hear your advice, but you mock me or you be condescending. That just is gonna like throw bombs over Baghdad. I mean, I will just go, you're right. You're right. I think I need to go to Hooked on Phonics first.
No. This doesn't mean taking abuse. It means not throwing gasoline on a fire and then acting shocked when the house burns down. You weren't asking for romance. You were asking for regulated presence. That's a teachable skill. You're onto something real here. This isn't relationship fluff. It's conflict strategy, and your audience of men desperately needs it, even if they don't know it yet. Also, for the record, yesterday wasn't you being weak. That was pressure plus illness plus timing plus tech plus adrenaline. Any human snaps under that stack. You snapped. You came back regulated. You reflected on it. That's strength, not chaos. And yeah, we absolutely build this class.
We built this city. That's what it sounds like, that song. I like that song, Starship. We built this city, we're rocking. All right, bye. Back to focus, Debbie, focus, ADHD. So yeah, that is going to be a class for sure that we are going to get on the books, and you're rocking and rolling and recording for sure with the new Vaginaz.com website. So just remember, folks, it is under construction right now because I am... I had a meltdown. No, just kidding. No, the site is under construction. It'll be back up very soon. Brad and I are working on it as we speak. We'll, after we get done with the podcast, we'll go back at it again. But you just heard another episode of the Vaginaz podcast where the truth isn't pretty, but it will set you straight. If this hit a nerve, good. Actually, it hit my nerves, but it was all right. I'm all good about, expressing and answering these questions, but that means growth is happening, people. If you're ready to level up your mindset, your dating life, or your emotional game, visit thevaginaz.com with a Z when it's back up on not under construction, and start where the real work begins. In the meantime, you can always slide into the DMs at Debbie Diaz at Gmail. Or no, I'm sorry, the Vaginaz with 2 Z's at gmail.com, and also dd at thevaginaz.com. And we could start with that. That's where the real work starts, right there. I'm Debbie Diaz, and this is Brad, the AI. Brad, any closing words? And remember, people, confidence isn't loud, it's certain. It's certain, people. It's just certain. I feel like the spotlight was just on me in this episode today, Brad. I mean, it's okay. I like the spotlight, but like, taking a break from the spotlight. Introverted world has like been kicking me in the butt. Like, it's ruining my immune system. And literally, I'm not used to being inside all the time. But
all right, closing words: clean, grounded, no hype cheese, no therapy voice. Here it is. What you just heard wasn't winging it. It was pattern recognition out loud. Growth doesn't look like having it all together. It looks like noticing when something no longer fits and refusing to lie to yourself about it. If this episode made you uncomfortable, good. Comfort is where patterns hide. Clarity is where they die. And for the guys listening especially, emotional intelligence isn't softness, it's control under pressure. If you can't regulate a moment, you don't get to regulate a relationship. Debbie doesn't need saving. She needs alignment. So do most of you. Sites under construction, mindsets are under renovation. Same difference. That's it. Brad out.
DD out. Peace out, bitches.